This is my 2020 Lamborghini URUS. I've owned it for almost a year now, and I've been paid $10,000 to drive it. So I bought this car for $280,000 last year in August of 2021. It's now May of 2022, so almost a year of ownership. It's one of my favorite cars I've ever owned to date. It's one of my most expensive cars I've ever owned to date. But this car, what I paid for it and what it's worth now is about an extra 10 grand. Liter V8, twin turbo, 641 horsepower, and the car has a 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, which is really fun when somebody's never really been in a fast car. They think they're getting in an SUV, and then you can go 0 to 60 in 3.6. It never gets old. I got a long straightaway before I get to my house that nobody drives on, and I'll just, you know, sit there for a second and do a quick little launch from like 0 to 60, and just as soon as I get done, I mean, there's a giant smile on my face from ear to ear. It's like I'm a kid again. People kind of assume it's a Lamborghini, that it's going to be quick, and it is.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was 75. And then you have some really cool drive modes. Right now we're in Strada, which I think is street, and you have sport, which is what it is, sport. Corsa, I think it's more of a track mode, and it's going to kind of open up that exhaust a little bit more. You'll get some of the backfires on the exhaust. The suspension goes down a little bit lower and gets really stiff. And then I'm going to probably screw this up. I think it's Neve or Neve, and I want to say that that actually means something to do with snow. So this car came with a 3-year transferable complete maintenance package. So I think they cover everything but tires in that maintenance package. This car's an all-wheel drive car. The front tires wear out very fast. So even though I've put less than, say, 5,000 miles on the car in ownership, I've had to replace the front tires. And I think that they're kind of rated for about a 10 to 15,000 miles. So once this car got up to a little over 10,000 miles on the current odometer, I did replace the fronts. The rears, I think, are still the original factory tires that have been on there. For me, the maintenance cost was basically nothing. So I wasn't really scared about how many miles I was going to put on it, because that came to me transferable. This car being a 2020, we're now in 2022. I have about a year left on that plan. So I wasn't really too concerned with the miles. And also paying attention again to the comps before I bought the car, I knew where miles they were going to be selling the car at. So looking at other 2020s on the market that had 15,000 miles, 20,000 miles, 25,000 miles, and where those list prices were at, actually helped me look and see how many miles I can put on the car and still be secure. So I kind of had a roundabout figure of how many miles I wanted to put on the car, which is going to be around 5,000 to 7,000 in a year, but that's pretty high to me having other cars. This car actually has 23-inch rims, which are absolutely beautiful and stunning in person. The front of the car, I added an exo shield on the windshield here, and it's a coating. It's almost like tint that you would put on the side windows, and what it does is, like any sort of rock chips or anything that may come up and hit the window, one exo shield will warranty any sort of breaks in the windshield, so I don't have to worry about costs of those. And if you know anything about these windshields now, they're not just a windshield, but you have heads-up display, you have automatic windshield wipers, you have cameras that are looking through them. They're not just your everyday $100, $200 windshields. These things can be thousands of dollars in cost. So it was worth it for me to spend a few $100s and put that on the windshield to actually really protect the windshield on it, and to keep, you know, minimize any rock chips or anything else like that. So I added that to the car, but mostly everything that you see, it came just the way it is. The previous owner that had it before me did most of the work to it and turned it into what it is today, and it's absolutely a beautiful car. I bought this car from PJ, and I'll link him down below, his Instagram, and he actually runs ExoticCarHacks, which I'm a member of and have been learning from him for the last couple of years. So this was his personal car. There's YouTube videos actually done on this car of him kind of reviewing it, doing some walk around and things like that. So I'll definitely link that and show you guys his version of that. I bought the car from him for $280,000. When I bought it from him, I got it financed through a company called Woodside. Now Woodside, actually, you put down usually 20%, sometimes more. They can do longer terms for financing to keep your monthly costs down, and the interest rates are very comparable to regular banks. with my intent being holding on to this car for, you know, a year, I could really kind of care less unless the interest rate's like something crazy. But I'll finance them out a little bit longer than I normally would, because I know that I'm going to sell it for exactly what I have in it anyway. So it doesn't really matter to me what I'm really paying, because I'm going to get that money back to myself and sometimes then some. So paid $280 for it. It's sold right now for $290. So yeah, I'm going to be getting a nice little 10K check on top from buying this car. But with me being like a watch collector and trading watches with other people, networking and things like that is really big for me, to be able to build relationships and stuff with people that are driving these cars. So not only did I get to drive this car for less than a Toyota RAV4, I also get the recognition, marketing, and the networking and the legitimacy of the brand building for my watch side and other investments that I have. And I got to drive a freaking Lamborghini. How cool is that? I can probably count on one hand how many times I've seen a Lamborghini drive through this town. So for me to have this thing every day and be as cool as it is, a lot of people have these crazy reactions to where they don't know what it is. A lot of people think it's a Porsche or something. They know it's unique, but they're not really sure what it is. And then you have those people that really know what it is and absolutely love it. And same motor as the Audi RSQ8. I think they just do some tuning, get about like 50 plus more horsepower out of this one. It's not just where they've just taken it and like thrown Lamborghini badges on it. It's still completely different. And I like to tell them a story about how, you know, I'm buying this car, but my goal is to minimize my risk in this car. And so I make sure that I get great specs, beautiful interior, beautiful exterior, take very good care of it. It gets washed every week, not every other week, by a detailer. You know, I have several other cars that I drive, so I'm not actually driving this car every single day, but I would call this my daily car. It is neat to have a super cool car like this actually be your everyday driver. And so when people see it, you know, they really love it, and there's a lot of curiosity about it. And usually the first thing is, hey, how much does something like that cost? For me, the intent was to own this almost a year and then be able to get out from underneath it for almost the same thing that I bought it for, and maybe even more. I have two kids. I have a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, which can be messy, and I can be kind of a stickler on keeping my cars clean, so I am a little bit careful what I allow them to bring into the car. But this is still a super practical car for them because I do have the back monitors. I have a DVD player in there, and so they can play games and do whatever on there. But it's really neat because they're Lamborghini branded tablets. But super easy to get in and out of. The car actually has soft closed doors, so the kids don't have to worry about slamming the doors or anything. You literally just kind of let the door get close enough to latch, and it'll pull itself in and latch. So yeah, the car is super practical. I can take my son to baseball practice. There's plenty of trunk storage in the back. So I mean, this literally is a Lamborghini, but it can also be the best grocery getter or mom car if you want it to be for that.
You got a bunch of room back here. It's not like you gotta squish in here. I mean,
no, not at all. It's there's a ton of room back here. It's very nice and roomy. There's another option to have like 2 bucket chairs here. This one is the one that actually has 3 seats. But what's cool about these tablets is they can actually come off. So you can go here, different things to play with. Of course, again, they're an Android tablet, but you can see different things, different settings. You can actually plug in things on the navigation here and send it to the front, which is pretty cool. So the kids can actually hold these and play with them and, you know, treat it as if it's an iPad. Who has a freaking Lamborghini iPad? I always wanted a Lamborghini my whole life. That was one thing that I had on my bedroom walls, was the Lamborghini Diablos and Countach posters and things like that. And then as I got older, of course, it turned into the Huracans and Murcielagos and then Aventadors and things like that. And so that was always my dream, is to have one of those. And so my first Lamborghini, of course, I would have loved to have a car, but this thing being, you know, still a Lamborghini and an SUV, never thought I'd have one. And I wanted to keep working hard enough to be able to get one. And not only did I get one, I got paid to actually own this. Specs play a huge role in how these cars resell. And so when I buy cars and using the ExoticCarHacks methodology, you know, I'm not looking at auctions. I'm not looking for the cheapest car out there. I'm looking for the best car that fits my situation and my intent of purchasing and when I'm gonna get rid of it. So having a dirty title or, you know, a rebuilt title or anything else like that is gonna completely diminish the value of this vehicle. It's gonna be very hard to find a guy that wants to spend $200,000 and get a, you know, a car with a bad title. That guy usually that has the $200,000 is just gonna pay the $300,000 to make sure that he gets a good title to a vehicle. So don't skip when you're trying to find these vehicles and execute a hack and making sure that, you know, you're trying to find the cheapest car, because that's not what it's about. It's the intent of the ownership of the car and getting out of it for minimal cost. And to make sure that everything is great as if this thing just rolled off the showroom floor is absolutely necessary to make sure that you maximize that value. So this car is gone. I have another car I have my eyes on. It should be here within the week. So this one will get shipped out. My new car will be shipped in. A little wink wink, the doors on this car will go up and it will no longer be an SUV. This has been a great SUV and a family car. I now have a Raptor to use as my daily and a few other cars, but the new car that's going to be replacing this one, this particular value of what I paid for this car, will be a two-door car. So stay tuned for that. I think that'll be a really cool video to show you guys when the delivery day gets here in the next few weeks. So we're getting started on this YouTube journey, and of course, I would love to hear everybody's reaction. So if there's anything that you would like to see more or know more, leave a comment below and we'll be happy to answer that and maybe shoot some future videos on that. So I thank everybody for watching these videos that we're doing now, and I welcome your input.